Hello, EO. How are we doing today? Come on, how are we doing today? Can I hear you in the back? All right. So, it's really nice to be back on stage. I've never been on stage in front of my wife and two daughters, but my first career was actually, I was a musician. So I was a drummer and I would stand on stage all the time, and I used to host an open mic, and it was called Sink or Swim. So musicians would get up and they would perform, and if they did a great job, they would cheer, everybody would cheer, and they might win at the end of the night, and if they didn't do a great job, they would get booed off stage. So please don't boo me off stage. I want to tell you a story about my father, Alex Krisak, and a little bit about his legacy. So, my father was a builder, a lot like all of you. He was a Harvard MBA. He founded, or partially founded, was an early investor in a lot of small startup companies, mostly technology, and he spent his years building companies. And over time, he was really becoming more and more passionate about helping people. Now, as time went on, and he was a great father, and as time went on, he started to get a little older, and he started to work at a company called Franklin Covey. Now, many of you may have heard of their books. They also have a great consulting arm. They teach the speed of trust, which is something my father was very passionate about. And so we would go around the country teaching leadership teams about trust and how important it is in business. And I started my business. I'm actually in the legacy business, so I'm a financial planner by trade. I started my business 13 years ago. One of my first clients was my father. Now, Brian was lucky in life, but unlucky in love. And he was going through a second divorce. So, that summer, 13 years ago, I traveled out to spend some time with him. Part business, part fun. We would sail, get out golfing. But we also had to fix his retirement plan. He wasn't going to be married. We had to fix his estate plan. We had to fix his beneficiary designations, all textbook stuff. And I got a voicemail when I got home from my father, and he said, "Son, I changed a few things. I'm making you the personal representative, making your Aunt Johanna the backup healthcare proxy, a couple more things to do, and love you, son." That was the last voicemail I ever got from my dad. He died 2 days later of a heart attack in his sleep. A lot of us say that he died of a broken heart. The next week, my stepmother sued the estate. And I got the pleasure and the privilege of defending all of my family members. Privately held companies, shares of stock that were hard to value, IRAs. It was the final exam in my first year. And I got a really difficult phone call on my way back from Pittsburgh, the hardest of my life. It wasn't hearing my father had died. My mother called and had let me know that I had lost my brother to undiagnosed diabetes. And he had passed away alone in his apartment in California, unexpectedly. And I think of today, I think of this morning, on the way in here, my daughter Lillian, who's somewhere back there, she told me, "Dad, you're strong, so you can be brave." And that's true. And so for the next year and a half, I settled 2 estates and 1 lawsuit, traveling from California to Pennsylvania to Boston. And I learned a lot about legacy. And it was the story that I learned the most from that surprised me the most. At my father's funeral, I found out that he was the chapter in a book, The Power of Everyday Missionaries, written by Clayton Christensen, one of the most powerful business thinkers of his generation. In that book is a chapter called Brian Carpenter. And it talks about my father's missionary work all over the country. We found out about this at his funeral. I had never seen the book. I had no idea. I mean, I knew he went to church, but I had no idea that he had traveled the country, and during his time working with founders all over the country and executive teams, he would spend his free time as a missionary. And I went and I spoke to Clayton, and I learned more about my father than I had ever learned from him in a book and from a conversation from a stranger that I had never met. And so if you leave here today, I want you to think about one thing, one word that you can remember. So we all hear about leaving a legacy. I think we should trade that word in. Leaving a legacy is not a gift that you leave under the Christmas tree at your funeral. It's something you live. Live your legacy. Live it every day. Think about the feelings that the people that love you, that work with you, have about you. Think about the culture that you're building in your family, in your company. And think about that as a legacy that you're building during your everyday life. And if you can, I would challenge you to write your chapter and share it with the people that love you. Tell them what your legacy is. Don't leave it to them. Thank you.